Hey friend, welcome. I'm so excited to have you here listening to another episode of the Pattern Design Circle podcast. Here we talk all about the ins and outs of designing knit and crochet patterns and running a business that makes it all possible. I'm Jessica, your host, knitting pattern designer, design mentor, and the friend in your ear. Can't wait to dive right in. The Pattern Design Circle podcast is sponsored by the Pattern Design Circle, a membership community for knit and crochet pattern designers that are feeling lost, lonely, or frustrated in their business. It connects you with a supportive community that's always eager to answer your questions and help you through the hard times. And there's loads of resources and activities specifically catered to business and designing. Sound like your jam? Check it out at snickerdoodleknits.com/design-circle. That's snickerdoodle, like the cookie, knits, knits.com/design-circle. All right, let's get into it. Hello. Welcome back to another episode of the Pattern Design Circle podcast. I'm excited to be sharing something a little bit different today. So yes, I am announcing that Pattern Design Circle doors are closing, but I also want to give you a little bit of kind of an insider view of why I'm choosing to do this. Pattern Design Circle doors have been open now for over a year, I'm pretty sure. I think I've had them open since beginning of last March. If not, I've launched in April, and so then they've been open almost a year. But I've made the decision to go ahead and close them and to return back to a sort of like open door, closed door launch cycle. And I thought you might find that interesting. So if this is your first time connecting with me, or maybe we haven't chatted a whole lot, maybe you haven't heard actually who I am, I thought maybe a little bit of an introduction would be helpful for the context of this conversation. So I'm Jessica. I'm a knitting pattern designer, the knitting pattern designer behind Snickerdoodle Knits. And I do not have an educational background in knitting or crochet or pattern design, fashion, any of that kind of stuff. My education background is actually in architectural engineering, so my degree is in, and then I never actually worked in architectural engineering. I worked in construction, I worked in architecture, I worked in interior design. I obviously was a bit more drawn to the artistic design, creative roots. And so I knew by the time that I graduated, I really wasn't excited about engineering. I was sort of interested in architecture, but I was burnt out from school. So I was working in interior design, and then I ended up starting an Etsy shop for knitting. I had a good friend who is a yarn dyer. And so she had introduced me to the online world, introduced me to, knitwear designers and all of this stuff. And that it was possible to have a business that's selling your hobby, basically. So I started my Etsy shop in October of 2018. That was the first day I officially made sales, or I don't know if I actually made sales. I officially opened the doors to my business. I'd been working on it for a couple of months before that. But anyway, the point is, that is when I started business. I didn't know anything about business or marketing at that point, and I dove right in. I spent all of my time, pretty much free time, anytime I was knitting for the Etsy shop, all of my time was going to really researching, learning more about business and marketing and all of the different elements that go into it, because there's a lot. In case you haven't noticed, we have photography, we have copywriting, we have the strategies of different platforms, all of this different kind of stuff. So I've consumed a whole ton of online free content, webinars, workshops, you name it, as well as taking courses, been in memberships. I'm still currently in memberships and courses and things like that. And I'm really passionate about marketing and design, business. It's something I never would have thought. It never even crossed my mind to study that for school. It wasn't something I was ever interested in. I definitely was interested in creative stuff. So it had crossed my mind, I guess, to be run my own photography business, but yeah, I kind of stumbled upon a passion. I really did just stumble upon a passion. And so I obviously didn't continue. Well, maybe you don't know that. Maybe it's not obviously. I got bored with my Etsy shop. I was knitting super bulky. It was getting hard on my hands, my shoulders, and my elbows. And I was getting bored kind of making just the same thing over and over again. So I was like, well, I don't really know what to do. There was some life changes that I knew were going to be coming up in less than a year. So I thought maybe I didn't know if I would actually continue the Etsy shop beyond that or not. But in my mind, there were two paths that I could take if I were to continue in this whole knitting related business community idea in this industry. And the two paths that I felt like I saw were to become a yarn dyer or to become a designer. And where I was, the yarn dyeing definitely wasn't what really sparked my interest. Didn't really feel like a good fit. My husband was finishing his master's degree, and so we were in a really tiny apartment and didn't really have the money, and I don't do well with claustrophobia in general. And so the idea of having a whole bunch of yarn in our kitchen that was already too small was not one that sounded appealing to me. We lived in Laramie, Wyoming, so it's like snowy. It's not like you could go dye yarn outside. And so to me, that wasn't really an option that I was interested in. And I was like, the other option is designing. But I was still convinced at that point, and this is, like the end of 2018. So that's less than 5 years ago. I was still convinced that I wasn't creative enough to be a designer. I didn't think I had a creative artistic bone in my body. And so obviously that changed. About 6 months later, I started to have a whole bunch of design ideas. And in April of 2019, I launched my first pattern. So I have now been designing for 4 years. Today, this is March 31st, and I do believe it was April 1st that I went ahead and published it. So I've been designing patterns for 4 years now, and I enjoy it, obviously. Like after a while, I was like, okay, so I'm learning all this stuff, this business stuff. I can see how most of it applies, but I was really wanting to understand how it applied to knitting and crochet, specifically to designing, to these smaller ticket items, how to actually make it all work. And at the same time, I was wanting to connect with these other designers. I was wanting to, really be able to talk about strategies, talk about what's working in our industry, what's not working, and just be able to connect and say like, hey, I'm having this problem. Are you having this problem too? Or have somebody to talk about designing in general with. And so I tried to reach out to some folks just in the DMs and stuff, but wasn't really sparking really strong connections that way. I was a part of a community for knit and crochet pattern designers, and it was great. It was wonderful, but it just wasn't fulfilling my needs the way that I wanted. I wasn't finding the depth of connection that I was really looking for. I wasn't finding that my answers were fully getting answered. My questions were fully getting answered. I'd ask things and it was like kind of get vague responses, but it wasn't like actually helpful. And I felt like the community just wasn't a community. It was like they were there, but they weren't supportive of each other. They weren't really, to me, it just didn't feel like it was fulfilling what I needed. It also wasn't really introducing any new concepts to me from a marketing business kind of perspective. So I wasn't growing in that way. So I ended up in October of 2021, which was about a year and a half ago now, launching Pattern Design Circle. So Pattern Design Circle is my membership community for designers, and it was all launched around this idea of having a community where designers really felt like they belonged, where they felt seen and heard and understood, where they could ask any question they wanted without judgment, where they would actually receive tips and feedback, and like people would actually be excited to help them and all of that. Obviously, I didn't know if this was actually going to work. I hadn't seen it before, but I was really hopeful. And I capped the founding members when I first launched it. It totally sold out like several days before I was going to close doors. And those first comments that I got from people inside the design circle were amazing, just of how they were feeling like they belonged in not only in the knitting world, but the design world for the first time. They were actually making connections. It was actually a space where they felt like they could ask things and share things that didn't feel like they were dumb or that they were missing something. And they were really shown that we're all in this together. We're dealing with the same things. Your struggles are not unique to you. So that was extremely rewarding, of course. And when I launched the design circle, I also, I still was wanting to grow myself, trying to learn more about designing, learn more about how business really fit into designing, all these kinds of things. So I built Pattern Design Circle on the community and then on the basis of guest speakers. So experts from the design world, from the business world that would be willing to come share their expertise and their knowledge with us. So it was kind of a way for me to also keep growing, even though it's my community. So now, fast forward a year and a half later, the Pattern Design Circle, we've added all sorts of elements to it. I strongly appreciate and value the feedback that I get from the Pattern Design Circle members. And so when they are really interested in receiving another element of support, things like that, I'm happy to implement it, or at least give it a try and see if it's actually helpful, tweak things, all of that. So now today, the Pattern Design Circle has 3 different tiers. There's a networking tier that's like the lowest price option, minimal support, basically. There's the community tier, that's just where there's all of the connections happening and all of the support happening, all the questions happening. And then there's the full access tier, which has all of the guest speakers, all of the workshops, coaching with me, all sorts of stuff like that. So it's definitely grown into something bigger and more exciting, and I just love it. It is, I say Pattern Design Circle is really a dream come true, but it was a dream that I didn't even realize I had, and I'm so passionate about it. I absolutely love connecting with designers so much. I love helping them feel and know that they're not alone, helping them feel like they're understood, that there's solutions for them, and helping them understand what the strategies are, what's possible, how to make money in our industry, different things that they can add to their business that are in alignment. I'm very much, my big thing is in having aligned businesses. There's lots and lots of marketing strategies out there. There's lots of business folks you can learn from. There's even folks in our own industry you can learn from. But I strongly dislike it when people say that you have to do something a certain way. I don't think that is accurate. I think we have options, and we can find the options that align best with who we are as people, where we like to show up, what kind of content we like to create, and what our goals are, who our audience is, all of those kinds of things. So I'll try not to go on too long of a rant about that, because I already talked for 2 hours this morning all about authentic feel-good marketing inside of the marketing challenge. So anyway, that gives you the background of what Pattern Design Circle is. So I had mentioned, I had the founding members launch in October, and then I opened doors again maybe in, I think, November. It was so that was the beginning of September. The next launch was either mid-October or November, and then close them again, and then open them in January, and close them again, and open them again. Maybe open them in February. It was the end of February, because I had a design challenge. And I can't remember, I should have probably looked this up, but I either closed doors at the end there and then opened them again in April, or I've left them open since then. So the reason I decided to shift there was because I was just finding that the launches were a lot of effort. I think that's the way that is for me, and it was requiring a lot of energy and time that I didn't have. I was needing to focus on other things, and so that in combination with just this like I guess questioning, is there a reason that doors should close? Like, does it matter if folks are joining all the time? Um, like wanting folks to be able to choose to join anytime that they want. So that was all part of the decision. Now, fast forward a year. Like I mentioned, I'm choosing to close doors again. So this is, in my opinion, a prime example of how you can continue to adjust your marketing strategies in a way that work for you in what's feeling aligned with you for right now, as well as what season you're in. So for me right now, I'm like, all right, I'm really not loving how the marketing's panning out, as far as it's this constant feeling of I should be promoting the Pattern Design Circle. Like, this is my product. I want everybody to join in. I want everybody to know about it. And so I feel like I should always be talking about it. But then at the same time, it's like there's not the urgency. So it's like I shouldn't ever be talking about it. And so then it's just like, I think it's muddled up my marketing a bit and hindered the way that I've shown up for my audience, especially on Instagram, because I'm like constantly trying to sell Pattern Design Circle instead of educating them and showing them who I am and what my business is about and how they can connect with me and things like that. So that is definitely part of my choice to go back to doors closed. And then there's also the part that I have some blocks that are opening up time and energy wise again. And so I'm excited to host like these free challenges and stuff like that, which work well with the open closed doors marketing. And last but not least, I've thought a lot about how, okay, we have this sort of push-pull pros and cons around the sense of urgency in marketing. We have, obviously, there's a pro for it, as like it really, a sense of urgency really helps us make a decision. It's like, all right, I know I have to make a decision by this date at this time. I know I can't put it off any longer, so I'm either choosing to join or I'm choosing not to join. And that's a really nice thing about providing a sense of urgency in your marketing. That's, why coupons, you don't leave coupons open forever. You don't have coupons just constantly available. You try to put deadlines on them so that there's a sense of urgency, so people actually are encouraged to buy, have a purpose, a reason to buy. So obviously there's that positive side of the sense of urgency, but there can also be some negative, just the way we perceive it. Like sometimes it can feel icky. And so I kind of was like struggling with this push-pull of, is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? And I don't think it's a good thing or a bad thing. It definitely is a strategy that works for marketing. And I know it works really, really, really well on me. I know, like if something's always available, I'm never going to join. I've discovered that about myself. Same with like, if there's always a coupon available, I'm not going to buy just because something's on sale or has a coupon if it's on sale every other day, or every other week, or some like Michael's craft store here in the States. I don't know if it's across in other places of the world, but it seems like they always have a 40% off coupon. So why would I go buy something from Michael's unless I have a 40% off coupon? I'll just wait. I can wait. No big problem. And it doesn't incentivize me to buy more than I need, which that's a whole nother topic in itself. But anyway, so I really recognize this pattern in my own buying strategies. That is, it's when, okay, there's a sense of urgency that actually motivates me to take action. So this isn't even just in our marketing. This can be in our tasks, our projects, our goals. If we assign a deadline to it, now we have a sense of urgency that we're working towards. We have a purpose. We have a reason. Like, all right, get this done, focus so that you can actually get it done in time for this deadline. Otherwise, a lot of folks will continue to put it off. What's the reason? Why would I work on it now? I can work on it next week. And the next week you're like, what's the purpose? What's the big deal? I can work on it 3 weeks from now. And before you know it, you're a year down the line and haven't made any progress. So I've recognized this pattern in myself, and I wondered if I'm doing a disservice for some of my audience members who would be a lot like me, who just haven't taken the action, haven't taken the steps to believe in themselves, to invest in their business and the resources and the community that they really need to amplify, to up-level their business. So for now, I'm going back to doors open, doors closed. And that means that when the doors are closed, folks will be directed to a wait list if they're interested in joining the Pattern Design Circle. And once doors open, they'll be notified from the wait list. And then, there's a launch period where it's available, and then doors close. and so that works really well when you're really wanting to focus marketing at very specific points of time. A model where you always have doors open works really well with like evergreen content, where maybe it's an email funnel that is constantly directing people to that product or service. And so, yeah, that's my plan. That's why. I hope that gives you some insight, even to think about for your own business, whether you want to make your patterns available for limited time, or you are launching a course or a class or something like that, to give you some things to consider around doors open, doors closed versus a sort of always open kind of scenario. And again, you can always change. You like, it doesn't mean you're a bad person if you go through different seasons and have different desires and different goals, things like that. So yeah, that is the reasoning. Now let's talk a little bit about Pattern Design Circle. So you're here on the Pattern Design Circle podcast, which means that you hear the little advertisement at the beginning of every podcast, telling you what the Pattern Design Circle is. And I know, because I recorded that about a year ago, that that's outdated. I mean, like, we've added more stuff since then. So I shared a bit why I created Pattern Design Circle. It really is to have a supportive community for designers, knit and crochet pattern designers. And it's so you don't feel alone in this journey that can feel so isolating. It can feel so lonely. And if you're feeling that way, I 100% guarantee you are not the only person feeling that way. Most every entrepreneur that I've come across has mentioned that. So another reason why I run the Pattern Design Circle is really to connect designers with resources and experts in our industry. I find it can be really difficult as a designer to find resources and to understand, okay, is this like, you might find resources and 4 of them say very contradicting information. So how do you know what to believe? What's the right answer? And so I really make it my mission to share these resources, to share these experts with you, and to kind of filter through, like, this resource might be good for you if this resource might be good for you if this, or maybe this resource is really outdated, and so this is the better one, things like that. And As far as the experts, that's where our guest speakers come in and chat with us. They share all sorts of amazing goodies. And then also inside of the Pattern Design Circle, my goal is to support you in amplifying your business, really growing it, elevating it. And growth can be starting it from nothing. Growth can be, all right, I have this business that I really enjoy, but I really want to increase sales. I really want to increase impact. I really want to add another revenue stream to it, like blogging or like YouTube, or like, trying to think about all the past guests we've had several different things you might add to your business to have more, create more sales. So by having more revenue streams, like teaching classes, having a YouTube channel, different places where you can monetize and make money, that is certainly one of the keys to a successful business in general, and designing is no exception. Part of that is because of our price point of our products. Okay, and then so I really want to help you amplify, elevate, grow your business, whatever that looks like for you, whatever your definition of success is, by coaching you and by sharing strategies that actually work, but allowing you to see what the options are and to understand what might fit you best. So, as I mentioned earlier, I'm very passionate about encouraging business owners and specifically designers to run businesses that are really authentic to them and that support their goals. To put a kibosh to comparisonitis, thinking that your success should look like anybody else's success, and understand what's actually valuable to you. So the Pattern Design Circle is for knit and crochet pattern designers that are feeling lost, that are feeling frustrated, that are feeling alone in their business, and are really looking for community, looking for connections, looking for support, looking for resources, and looking for strategies. Like I mentioned earlier, we do have 3 tiers inside Pattern Design Circle. The reason for this is because I found that what I started with is now the highest tier. That is the tier that has all of the workshops, the coaching, the guest replays, all of the things. But not everybody needs all of those resources. And if you don't need all those resources, you probably don't want to pay the cost for the full access tier. So maybe it's the community support that's really important to you. And so I have a tier for that. And I have a tier specifically for networking. So how this works is the first tier, the cheapest tier, I don't like the word cheap, but the lowest price point tier is the networking tier, because I really do believe that who you know can be so important and lead to faster growth. I think we see this in absolutely every industry. Connections can be everything. So the point is really to create connections with folks that want to work with you as a designer. So you're not cold calling people. You're not reaching out to people that you don't know if they're actually interested. You don't know maybe how they operate with designers. You don't know a whole lot about them. So I connect you with these people, introduce you to them, have them share why they want to work with designers and things like that. So we have a space specifically for connecting with yarn dyers, shop owners, publications, etc. We have a space here in the networking section for open calls for submissions. So if you want to submit to third-party publications to make money perhaps more quickly and with less, you have less responsibilities on your plate when you third-party publish. We have open calls for submissions. So we post all of the calls that we see so that you have them all ready for you. You don't have to chase those down. And then we also have a space for collaborations. So you can reach out and say, hey, I'm really interested in collaborating with designers to create a book about XYZ, or I'm really interested in creating collaboration with designers who are designing hats for the summer, I think we could run a knit along together or something like that. So you can post, I have a whole list of ideas of different collaboration ways you could collaborate. And then you can reach out anytime you want to collaborate with other folks. So if you're familiar with the project in Tandem that I started, where we have a knit and crochet magazine, it's still in production. It will be launching later this summer/autumn. And it was born from Pattern Design Circle. It was a brainchild of mine where I said it would be really fun to collaborate with other designers to create a physical book where we could actually bring this to yarn shops and have our names spread farther around, have more exposure. So that's how In Tandem started, and you can start whatever collaboration you'd like. So that's the networking tier. That is $4.99 a month, US dollars, or $45 a year. Then we have the second tier is the community hub. So this is because designing can feel really lonely and really frustrating. And if you're experiencing that, I want you to know you're not alone. It's totally normal. It's totally okay. There's nothing wrong with you. And there is hope. There is a community that is supportive, that is excited to welcome you and to help you. So I want you to know that you are supported. Have that support system around you of a community of designers that totally understand what you're going through, and they're eager to help you. So inside of the community hub, with that tier, you have access to everything inside of the networking tier. Plus, we have weekly co-working sessions twice a week. We meet for 1 to 2 hours, where it's just a dedicated time to make progress and work. So if you have a hard time focusing on your work, setting aside time to actually get the thing done, whether that's marketing or writing up your pattern or going through tech edits from your tech editor, whatever it is, we have co-working spaces just to get things done. We also have weekly accountability check-ins, which means you share what your goals are for the week. And then at the end of the week, or at the beginning of the next week, you share what you actually accomplished and then what your goals are for the next week. So if you struggle to actually set intentions, if it just doesn't even cross your mind, or you just get busy, this could be really helpful for you. I also, in those check-ins, include sort of prompts, content that are themed to around monthly and quarterly cycles. So if it's a new month, maybe setting some even bigger intentions for the month or for the quarter. And then as we're wrapping that up, all right, what's gone well, what hasn't gone well, what do you really want to focus on for the next month or quarter? And before we get there, what are the last few things you really want to wrap up? What's important to you to actually focus on now, so you feel like you've made good progress towards your goals? And then we have inside of the community hub tier discussion spaces for any questions that you have. I also post regularly a post where you can share your business wins, a post where you can ask for feedback. You can share anything you want. You don't have to wait for those posts, but it's just a space for you to really connect with the other designers and get the support you want, cheerleading that you need, and answers that you need. It can be anything from, I'm really struggling to set aside time for my work, I'm really struggling to focus on what I'm working on, to how do you do the decreases for this raglan sleeve, or how do you suppose decreases would be if you're working bottom up. Anyway, it can be really anything. It could be, what marketing platform are you using for your email? Like, what email service provider are you using? What resources do you have to research SEO on YouTube? Things like that. And then we also have inside of that tier a quarterly design challenge. So that is 1 week where I have a different prompt every day, and you can create new design ideas, and an annual design along, which is a whole month every single year, where we have intentions for what we want to really focus on design-wise for the month, and then we check in weekly on what our progress is, ask any questions, really specific designing on a video, setting, all of that. So, and then we also have in there monthly meetups that I did not list. We have so it's just a way to connect in a personal kind of way via video with other designers without having an agenda. So you can hang out and chat about life. You can hang out and chat about designing. You can, whatever you want to do, hang out for an hour every month with fellow designers. That tier, the community hub, is $27 a month or $297 a year. And then last but not least, we have the full access tier, which of course is my favorite because I love some of the goals we have in it. But the full access tier, the reason we have it is because so often as designers, we're struggling to know what strategies to use to understand how to really apply it to our business as knit crochet pattern designers. And maybe you're feeling lost as you work on trying to amplify and elevate your business and not sure how to up-level your designs, not sure how to up-level your business, not sure how to get to that next step. Maybe you're considering new revenue streams, new marketing platforms, things like that. So that's where we really have the support for you so that you feel empowered to create and elevate your business using strategies that you love and that actually work. And we talk all about all those strategies and provide you with the support, the resources. It's not just here's what this is, go research it. We have these discussions and things around them. So each month we have 2 guest discussions. Typically that's one business and one design. And these are with guests from our industry, from the business industry. Sometimes it's mindset related, sometimes it's habits and planning related, lots of different topics. And each month we do also have a group coaching call with me. So you can come up with any questions that you have for your business, that you have for designing, and ask me. I'll share with you openly and honestly, transparently, and we can work through different things to really understand what fits and feels best for you. So a group coaching call idea is it's open to the whole group. Anyone who's interested can join us on the call. It is recorded. So I can help support you. Folks who are listening in can share their own ideas in the comments, and then the replay is available to anyone. So you can also learn from questions that other people are asking. And then we also have one workshop every single month where we meet in a more group setting. So rather than me or a guest speaking and delivering the content, we're talking about it as a group. So I'll share my feedback or my ideas around it. I can lead it as a teaching experiment, or not experiment, a teaching session sometimes if folks don't have a whole lot that they want to share on it. But the real point of the workshops is to allow designers to all connect and share their ideas. So I strongly feel that we all have different strengths and weaknesses, and we can help each other by sharing our strengths with each other. We can share what we've learned. We can share tips and tricks. We can share what hasn't worked. We can ask questions. We can get feedback. And it's really nice when it's on that video setting where we can really talk through it. So that's what the workshops are about. The full access tier also has lots of resource lists, of resources for business, resources for designing, things as simple as sizing charts and lists of tech editors and business stuff like email service providers, things like that. So we also very soon will have courses coming to the full access tier. So the courses are where I will be teaching marketing, business, design, productivity. It'll take a while for all of it to, to drip out, but I will be working on starting all of that in April. So I'm very, very excited about that because it's a way for me to share information in shorter bits, and really deliver my knowledge to you so that you actually can just listen to it and work your way through it instead of needing to ask questions. So historically, most of the content that I've provided has been in response to questions, answering in comments, coaching, things like that, where this here will go ahead and share that directly with you so you don't have to think about the questions. So, and then last but not least, the full access tier also includes priority status for Pattern Design Circle events. So for example, we're talking about hosting a retreat later this year that's exclusive to Pattern Design Circle members, and full access tier members receive priority status. So if we have more people interested than spots, they'll receive priority. And the price for the full access tier is $47 per month or $497 a year. Some of my favorite things inside of the design circle are some of the super amazing guest topics and guests themselves that we've featured. So for the designing guest experts, we've talked about everything from like sort of the basics of collaborating with yarn dyers, collaborating with or working with tech editors, to how to lay out your pattern and size your pattern using spreadsheets, using sizing with spreadsheets as a method for your pattern designs, to technical aspects like how do you design a raglan sleeve, how do you design a drop shoulder, and even publishing your own book. So we have, I think the number was 37. It's in my notes later. I don't have it pulled up right now, but I think it was 37 guests that we've featured, that we have replays to, and we continue to have more guests to every month. For the, and I was going to share guests. Some of the guests that we have featured are Sarah Walworth of Tech Editor Hub and Tech Tip Talks, Kim McBrien Evans of Indigo Dragonfly, and she's also, so that's yarn dyeing, but she also does a lot of with size inclusivity and making stories. Hannah Lisa is a publisher. So those are just a small sampling of the topics and the guests that we've had inside the Pattern Design Circle for designing. For business, we've covered topics from overcoming perfectionism and marketing without social media to marketing with social media, how to show up authentically on social media, to like the legalities and the technicalities of accounting and taxes and staying legal as an online business owner, to things like using Patreon as an additional stream of income, teaching, blogging, all of those kinds of things as income sources, to time management and hiring team. So guests that we have featured in the past include Gigi of Gigi Made It, a very inspirational, motivational person she's very much about authenticity and showing up as who you are. Rachel Engom, who is a Pinterest and email list expert. Leonie Dawson of, well, I guess Leonie Dawson, but they really focus on business stuff. We specifically brought her in to talk about marketing without social media, but they have a lot of resources for business owners. And then we have Tian Connaughton, who came in as well, one of our very own from our industry. So we have so many amazing experts that we've learned from. And if that feels overwhelming, I do have a resource inside of Pattern Design Circle. It's a roadmap that leads you through, all right, where are you right now? What are you needing? These are most likely the replays you want to watch. These are the reflection prompts that I've written that you'll likely find helpful, that you really want to consider to get clear on this and to propel you forward. And then workshop examples are so each of our workshops have a very specific content theme. So we've talked about things like content ideas and content planning. We've done social media audits where we really review, is our social media doing what we want it to do? Is it giving the vibe that we want it to give? Things like that. And we even had a guest for a workshop. 1 month we had Jody of Notions Magazine join us to review design submissions. So Design Circle members submitted their submissions for calls for submissions, and she went through and gave them feedback, very direct feedback on their personal submission. So that is the Pattern Design Circle. It's truly amazing, and I don't just say that because it's my own group. I say that because of all of the amazing feedback that I've received from designers inside that talk about how supported they feel, how good it feels to have a resource that they can go to for not only for support, but for really learning strategies and understanding business and marketing. So if you're feeling lost, lonely, or frustrated in your business, if you're wanting to amplify your business in a way that really feels good with strategies that work, and if you'd like to feel supported with a community of designers that understand you, and a mentor, myself, that's me, a mentor that's cheering you along the whole way, I truly believe you would be a great fit for our community, and I would love to invite you into Pattern Design Circle. The doors will be closing this Wednesday, April 5th. If you have any questions at all, go ahead and reach out to me at jessica@snickerdoodlenets.com or on Instagram at Pattern Design Circle. More than happy to answer your questions. And the link to the Design Circle information page is on, if you go to the show notes for the podcast, I'll have it linked there. So one more thing, which I think is really valuable actually, is we have Pattern Design Circle is hosted on a platform called circle.so, and it's a community platform that allows us to have all of our resources and everything all in the same place. So we can go live, have our live videos on the platform. We have a list of all of the events on the platform. We have spaces where we can chat. And so if you're familiar with Facebook and familiar with Discord, I think of it as a mashup of the best of both worlds. So we have the nice organization of topics that we have on Discord, or had, we used to be on Discord, and the ability to really communicate in organized threads and have posts like you do on Facebook without having to go on Facebook. So again, if you have any questions at all, feel free to reach out. Doors will be closing soon. So I hope you found this helpful, just a peek inside of launch strategy, why I'm choosing to change up my marketing strategy, and maybe you'll find that Pattern Design Circle feels like a good fit for you. If not, no worries. We'll keep creating podcasts here as we always have. Wow, thanks so much for listening to this episode. If you found it valuable, please share the podcast with a designer friend. And if you have a minute, leave a review. It's so helpful for me and means the world to me. Chat soon.